You are allowed to become someone new without abandoning your old self. The version of you that shows up today, wherever you go, whatever you do, will always have bits and pieces of who you were 15, 20, 30 years ago. The younger version of you that may have wanted different things or made different choices or tolerated different situations helped you get here. You get to decide what you carry forward with you, what you integrate into the new version of you, and what you leave behind.
Welcome to On Second Thought with me, Jackie Pfeiffer, a podcast for ambitious women and mothers who built a life doing everything right and are now questioning whether it's actually the life they want to keep living. Maybe nothing is wrong. You're not unhappy, burned out, or falling apart. You're grateful for what you've built, but still honest enough to admit you may want something else. This show gives you permission to question your life, get clear on what you want next, and explore a different direction without blowing up everything you've built. Because sometimes creating the life you want starts with one honest realization. On second thought, I want something different.
Welcome back to On Second Thought. Here I am, hotel vibes for work in my hotel, having a little glass of wine, relaxing after a long day of travel. I'm really excited about this episode. In the first episode, I shared a little bit about my on second thought moments or the kind of process and how I kind of got to where I am today and why this podcast exists. I want to take the idea a little bit deeper today because I think one of the hardest things to give ourselves is permission to change our mind, permission to do something different. And so we say we want growth, right? But we shame ourselves when growth starts to shift what we want. We say we want to evolve, but then we feel guilty when things that we said we wanted, like a goal or a relationship, a role, a version of success, no longer fits. It no longer feels like the right fit. I think this is especially true for women because we are super loyal, we're consistent, we're grateful, we're respectful, we're responsible, we hold ourselves accountable. And so when we have a second thought or we have a little inkling that we want to change our mind about something, we're like, wait, am I being selfish? Am I being flaky? Am I confused? Am I afraid? Am I what is underneath this? It's kind of like the negative, the inner critic coming to us and saying why would you change your mind on all of this when you spent all that money and all that time and all that energy doing the thing that you've been doing? That's all going to go to waste. And it's no, actually it's not. It's what's built you up to get you to where you are now. Having a second thought is not something to be afraid of. It's information. It means you're being aware of your surroundings, aware of things that are changing around you, aware of what you may actually need or want. Because again, what you wanted in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond might not be what you want right now. And very likely are not going to be what you want right now, because as you have more lived experiences and you have more life behind you, you have less tolerance for bullshit. You have less tolerance for stuff and less capacity for things that just don't meet your needs or interesting. They just aren't interesting to you anymore. What once maybe felt exciting is now so exhausting and feels like you're just on a hamster wheel. What once made you feel successful might not what makes you happy or fulfilled now. What once felt safe might make you feel limited now. That doesn't mean that the old version of you was wrong. It means that you are evolving. So today we're going to talk about the 5 permission slips I wish more women had and knew as they were having their second thoughts. As they have these second thoughts, I want them to know that I want them to be thinking about these things as they have their thoughts. So today, I want to talk about the 5 things I wish more women knew about having second thoughts. Number 1, you are allowed to outgrow what you once wanted. Kind of speaks for itself. I mean, again, what you wanted in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond may not be what you want now. Who you are now is not necessarily the same exact person that you were 20 years ago. I mean, for me, I once wanted to be the head of HR. I wanted to be the boss. I wanted to be the boss. I want to be the boss. I love being the boss. And I'm here. I'm here. I'm the boss. And I like that. But that doesn't mean that it's completely fulfilling. It's not like the prize. It's not the recognition that I actually want now. What I want now is a different type of recognition. It's a recognition for being me, for being who I am authentically, not for being the corporate mom or the girl who does everything, the girl that will just get it done. That's not what I want anymore. That's what I was and how I built my way up to where I am now. But now I've outgrown that. And there's so much more that I want from my life. And so climbing the rungs of the ladder is great. And that's what I wanted. And now I'm here. And it's not the prize. The prize is realizing that I don't want to be there anymore and that I can do something different. You don't have to stay loyal to an old dream or an old goal just because you wanted it so badly back then. You should be proud that you worked towards that goal or that you achieved that goal and that you can do something different now. Okay, permission slip number 2. Changing your mind is not a failure. It is evolution. And evolution is a beautiful process. Changing your mind does not erase your progress. It often reveals what your progress has taught you. The version of you that chose the old path did the best that she did with the information, the needs, the values, the desires that she had at that time. For me, I wanted to change my mind about my career in 2011, 2012, as social media was coming into play. And I was early on in my career, but I was too scared because I wasn't financially stable. I was completely afraid of having to rely on other people for money. I was afraid of then that creating a lack of independence. And then I was afraid that maybe I was wrong about the boom of social media. Boy, was I wrong. But like that fear kept me back. And so I don't regret not changing my mind at that time because that's what I needed to get to where I am today. I don't regret saying, you know what, I'm going to stay on the path that I'm on right now because I need to build a savings. I need to build some sort of like financial stability to be able to enjoy the process of doing something different. And that's where I am today. So changing your mind is not a failure. Even if I had changed my mind back then and changed the course of my career, completely pivoted and didn't decide to climb the ladder, I mean, obviously I don't know what that would have looked like. But if that was you, if you made that change, do you regret it? Probably not. And if you do, that doesn't mean that you failed. That means that you've learned a lesson. That means that that can apply now to the rest of your life. You know the reasons you made that change, and it may have worked out. It may have not worked out. If it didn't work out, it's a lesson. So you either change, it works out for the better, you win. Change doesn't work out for the better, you learn. I mean, it's like not rocket science. Okay, permission slip number 3. You're allowed to want what actually feels true to you, not what you think you should want. So an example that I have for this is as I've been working on my professional growth and building new communities around me, meeting new people, like I've been really trying to figure out what rooms I need to be in and different types of conferences and retreats and all sorts of things to be a part of. And there was one that I had looked at. It was $16,000 for 3 nights at a 5-star hotel. It was like a mastermind with coaching, mentoring, meeting different women in different industries. And it sounded really great. But I actually had the self-awareness to be like, you know what? That's probably a great room to be in. But actually, what I want is the person that's running the event. I don't need the whole kit and caboodle of the retreat and like the whole 9 of like the group situation. I just want this person who's running the retreat to mentor me or be a strategic advisor to me on blah, 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 whatever it might be. The podcast, basically. But I knew that I wanted her to be in my life. And so what was true to me or true for me in that moment was that I wanted her to be in my life. And so I figured out a way. I reached out to her and I sent her a couple of different options. I said, hey, your retreat looks amazing. Would love to go another time. Right now, what I need is one-on-one time. The group stuff doesn't really work for me that well. I don't get much out of it. So how about if we spend similar investment and we'll do X, Y, and Z. Here are two different options for how that could work out. She literally got back to me the next night and was like, this looks great. I'm really impressed. Let's go with option one. Here are my terms and done. And I was proud of myself for giving the different options because like what I realized in that moment is you don't have to just pick from the menu. You can actually customize and propose something to someone. If they get a sense that like you are confident in who you are and what you need and what you want and you're self-aware and that energy transfers. And so she kind of immediately knew that I was in it and I wanted like yes, I paid her money, but why did she get back to me? There was obviously something that made her interested in getting back to me and being a support system for me outside of just the money, because she doesn't need the money. So that was an interesting experience where I realized that something that wasn't true for me that I thought maybe I should be doing was not actually what I needed. And so pushing the envelope, not choosing from the menu was actually the best path that I could take. And now I'm friends with this person and she's going to be on the podcast. And I'm so glad I did what I did. I listened to my heart and what was true for me. Okay, permission slip number 4. You are allowed to experiment without making every choice a permanent decision. This is so true. Like, why do we think that every choice we make has to be permanent? I think about this a lot. Well, I think because it's scary to change, right? It's scary to change course. When you change course, you're losing something or you're giving something up, and there's uncertainty in the future. So it's, you know what you know in the moment, and that may or may not be comfortable, but you have to be willing to decide if the new thing is worth the effort and worth the idea that it may or may not work out, or that you may grieve it and regret it. And again, it kind of keeps going back to this, like, you live and it may work out or you learn. Okay, permission slip number 5. You are allowed to become someone new without abandoning your old self. I think this is a really big one, and it's the last one for a reason, in my opinion, is that the version of you that shows up today, wherever you go, whatever you do, will always have bits and pieces of who you were 15, 20, 30 years ago. And the younger version of you that may have wanted different things or made different choices or tolerated different situations helped you get here. And I would not be who I am today without all of the experiences and the people and the life that I've lived over the last 39 years. And so when people tell me, oh, you've changed, or like, oh, I've seen so much growth in you, or whatever, whether they mean that in a good way or a not so good way, or whatever it is, I'm okay with outgrowing the parts of me that I don't want anymore. But the parts of me that I love, the outgoing, the brave, the courageous, ambitious woman and mom, I'm proud of those things. There are so many things over the course of the last 20 years of my life that have contributed to the evolution of me, like graduating in the recession, changing my career to be not finance and be in HR, the decision to get married, decision to have kids, having those kids, moving every 2 years with the military. These things change you. They create an evolved version of you because of these experiences. There are so many things that happen, and I think it's a crime when people don't evolve based on their experiences that they have, whether that's a good experience or a bad experience. Every situation, everything that you do is an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to see a different side, a different perspective. And so, out of these 5 permission slips that we've been talking about, this is probably my favorite and the one that will most resonate, because I think people are afraid to change. People are afraid to be afraid to be perceived as having changed because you don't fit into the little box that everybody had you in anymore. Or you have like one leg in and one leg out. And you get to choose how people perceive you. You get to choose how people treat you. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And so when people are experiencing you differently than they have, especially people that you've known for a really long time, when they are experiencing you in a different way and they're like a little uncomfortable with it, good. That means that you're evolving and you're growing. And you don't need to fit in their box anymore. You get to decide what you carry forward with you, what you integrate into the new version of you, and like what you leave behind. So I'm going to recap the 5 permission slips that we've talked about today. The 5 things I wish more women knew about having second thoughts. Number 1, you're allowed to outgrow what you used to want or once wanted. The dream may have been real for a reason and for that season, but that doesn't mean that it needs to define your future. Number 2, changing your mind is not a failure. It is a beautiful evolution. A second thought doesn't mean that you were wrong before. It just means that you are aware enough and you're growing and learning and you're paying attention. Number 3, you're allowed to want what actually feels true to you, not what you think you should want. You don't have to force yourself to chase a life that looks good on paper but doesn't feel good inside. Number 4, you're allowed to experiment without having every choice be a permanent decision. Trying a new path, changing your direction, or even returning to where you were before can give you all the information about what you really want. Number 5, my favorite. You're allowed to become someone new without abandoning the old version of you. You're allowed to become someone new without abandoning who you were. You can honor past versions of yourself while still making room for the woman you are becoming. So, before we close out the episode, I want to leave you with a few questions to reflect this week. I want you to sit with these and really think, get deep with yourself on what it is that you want. Where in your life are you forcing yourself to want something because you think you should want it? What old goal, identity, role, version of success have you been afraid to question? Where have you been treating a second thought like failure instead of information? What would you explore if you knew it wasn't going to be permanent? What part of you is quietly asking for permission to evolve? Thank you so much for listening to On Second Thought. My hope is that this conversation reminds you that you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to want something different. You're allowed to question a life that you thought you were supposed to want. You're allowed to test new things, explore, make mistakes, come back to yourself, and keep evolving along the way. Changing your mind does not make you inconsistent. It does not mean that you failed. It means that you're honest enough to keep checking in with yourself instead of staying committed to a version of your life that no longer fits. If this episode resonated with you, please follow or subscribe to On Second Thought on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you do not miss the next convo. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, please send this to her. She may need the reminder that her second thought is not something to be ashamed of. It may be the beginning of her evolution.